do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, howdy, folks. How are you? I hope you're having a bloody good week, or at least I hope it's having a better one than mine. I'm not being a sook. I'm not carrying on. Yes, I have a busted wing, and this busted wing will change to a different color at some stage later this week or early next, because at the moment there is only... I don't remember what I've told you about this already, because there have been some pretty good drugs involved in my last few days. So I'm going to tell you a few things you might already know. I'll be going to a fracture clinic at some stage late this week or early next week to get a full plaster put on the thing. Hopefully have it re-x-rayed, because I have some doubts that they've found all the bits that are broken. I think there's something further up in my arm. Don't know why. I'm not a doctor. Just feels a bit weird. So we shall see what happens at the fracture clinic over the next few days. That won't happen till the end of the week at least, and possibly not until Monday. They did tell me to give it a good week in this thing to let the swelling go down, I guess. So, and it is reasonably, or at least I think it's reasonably swollen. What I can tell you, pardon me, what I can tell you, I can probably show you. You see the X39 patch on my arm? I can feel that thing actually working. I shit you not. When I put them on, and I've been wearing them pretty much constantly since this happened, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. Yesterday particularly, I noticed a very strong tingling sensation down my forearm and into the back of my hand. Now, there's been some damage to the back of my hand as well. I guess the muscles and the ligaments and all that got pulled a bit. And a bit strained in places. So it really feels like it's going to work on there. I do feel like I am a good healer. I think I'm a fast healer. And I'm looking for ways and means to speed up the process as best I can, because being one-handed does limit me somewhat in my driving ability. And in 3 weeks' time, I was set to head off to Victoria and head to the My Place Echuca get-together, pardon me, just out of Echuca. That's at the end of November. And then a week later, I was due in the bus in Mount Gambier for the 832 event there with all the good folks of South Australia. At this junction, I don't think I'll be driving. Not sure. Going to give it a few more weeks before I make a decision on that. I'm probably going to give it at least 2 weeks before I make that decision. It might be 3. But if I can't drive down, then I'm hopeful that I'll be able to put together enough money to get airfares to Melbourne. I'm sure I can get a ride up to Echuca with any number of folks out of Melbourne who might be heading up that way. They might have a spare seat and a bit of a place I can throw a bag, because I still will only have one wing, so I'll only be carrying one bag. And then I'll be able to meet up with Vince, who will be at that Echuca event as well, and then I'll head off with Vince back to South Australia, and then he will get me to Mount Gambier in the first weekend of December, because I don't want to let you down. I've been so much looking forward to coming down and seeing everybody in Victoria and catching up with the crew in South Australia, and the the ladies and gentlemen in certain parts of Western Victoria that are quite alive and awake. I'm led to believe, although I've seen no evidence of it, I'm led to believe that there is quite a strong group of followers in Warrnambool. Mortlake. My family come from Koroit, so it's an area very, very close to Warrnambool. Good spud growing land, dairy country. And reasonably confident that none of my family are involved in what we're doing here. So if you are in the Warrnambool area and you want to catch up, which is the message I've received, well, feel free to come to Mount Gambier. I will be there. The plan was, had I been driving the bus, and look, if I am able to drive it, I will drive it. I just don't think right now I'm certainly not capable of driving, 13 metres, 10-tonne vehicle, one-handed, 2,000 kilometres on bastard roads down to Victoria. I'm just not capable of doing it. I'm sorry. I hope that will, because I'm a good healer, a fast healer, I hope that will change. And in 3 weeks' time, I'll be able to say, hey, listen, I've got this great cast and we're heading off to Victoria. If you happen to see it, you can sign it. Would love to have you sign my cast. I've never had a cast. So isn't that what people do, sign casts? They probably make them out of shit you can't sign these days, do they? Anyway, Ebony. I have to get Ebony. She's a tattoo artist, magnificent tattoo artist. I might have to get her to put a design on it for me. Okay. She'd prefer to put a design on me, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean a tattoo, nothing else. So I guess the current update is still surrounded by pain pills, although not taking many. The ones I am taking are very weak, Nurofen, paracetamol. I'm not taking any of the really strong medication, the oxys that I've been given, or the endones. I was quite surprised. There was no problem getting any pain medication. I wasn't exhibiting huge amounts of pain. I mean, it was uncomfortable, but it wasn't agonizing. When I got eventually into the treatment room, it was, oh, look, we'll look after you for pain. Do you want something for pain? And I said, oh, no, I'm not really feeling it, that way at the moment. It's okay. A couple of minutes later, after he'd shown me what was what with the x-rays, for whatever reason, I elected to take some pain because I thought they were going to realign my wrist, right? I thought they were going to pull it and move it and jab it around. I was wrong. They didn't need to do any of that. They just had me hold it up in the air and wrapped it up, put a half splint on it and kicked me out the door. Charged me $560, which was very pleasant. Might ask, why did they charge me $560? It's because I didn't have the ability personally or in any other way to deal with 8 to 9 hours in an emergency ward at the Gold Coast Hospital on Gold Coast 500 weekend. I didn't have any ability to sit there for 8 or 9 hours. Luckily, I had a friend who'd driven me in who had a bit of money on him, and I borrowed that off him so that I could pay for this through the private hospital. And, I got a little bit of it back. A little bit. But however, I was seen in 20 minutes, not 9 hours. Made a big difference to me, my anxiety levels, and it made a huge difference to the Gold Coast University Hospital not having to get security in to try and calm me down at some stage. So, bit of a hit. I've paid that person back, though. I don't have any cash. I gave him some silver instead. He seemed very happy for that. And why the hell wouldn't you be? Because, well, if you haven't been following the world of gold and silver at the moment, folks, what are you thinking? Get a look at the top left-hand corner there, under the Ainsley sign and to the right of the Oz and Kilo signs. The gold spot price right now is $4,185.76. I think when I started watching it this morning, it was about 4,147 or something like that. It has rocketed up throughout the afternoon. Silver has gone up a little bit, only a little bit. It's sitting at $51.71. But when you wake up tomorrow morning, folks, I would expect that's going to be a lot better looking. Not tomorrow, it will be in the not too. It has been now publicly released that 5 major US banks have been audited and found lacking in their reserves, in their precious metal, gold and silver reserves for the deposits and whatnot that they have on hand. How much are they lacking? Bear in mind, these are 5 banking institutions only, major banks in the US. They are deficient to the tune of 708 million ounces of silver. Now, that is almost more than the entire world production of silver last year. Now, what do you mean missing? Well, these people don't own silver. They hedge against it. And right now, there has been a call put against their silver shares. They have to sell them, and they don't have them to sell because it's all been fake and on paper. The silver scam is being exposed in America as we speak. There are freedom fighters over there talking about Nasara Jasara being launched within days. And these are people who are pretty well connected. Now, whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. It's all a little bit too far in the future for me at the moment for what I'm concerned about. I would suggest to you, though, that gold and silver are going to keep going through the roof. And I want you to ask yourself this. When, in the entire history of you taking any notice of petrol prices and Middle Eastern politics, when, in all that time, have you known there to be a war or even the hint of a war, just a few words that might mention war in the Middle East? When have you known that just that tiny little mention of the word war or, some angst in the Middle East didn't put our oil prices through the roof? So that we were paying $2, God knows, 70, 80, maybe $3 a litre. Because that's what wartime oil prices are like, particularly when the Middle East is part of what's on fire. But it's not. Oil prices are down compared to gold. Gold is through the roof. Why is that? Better minds than me might be able to come up with an answer, but why is that? It's the strangest cycle I can ever remember. And if you can remember another time where there was threats of war or actual bombs going off in the Middle East, with Israel attacking God knows who else, or who else attacking Israel, when didn't our fuel prices go through the roof? The answer is they always go through the roof. But this time, not so much. I don't fully understand the way that works either. Oh, I just saw somebody in the chat. Phil, rest in peace, the 3G network. Well, did we have a Y2K moment with the 3G networks, Phil? Remember how the year 2000, everybody had to get a new computer, or all the old computers had to be turned over because when computers were created, they didn't put enough brain in them to tick over the century, if you like, from 1999 to 2000. It turned out to be the greatest scam perpetrated on business of the decade. I'm pretty confident it was a great way to scam in and rob business of badly needed money that they could have kept themselves. But oh no, you had to go and spend, at the time, what was considerably more for a shithouse little computer that could be guaranteed to tick over January 1, 2000 at midnight on New Year's Eve that year. I had a brother-in-law at the time who was heavily involved in Y2K compliance for Telstra. He got paid a mozza to spend like 3 years making sure nothing inside Telstra would fall over. And he told me, he said, it's the easiest job ever. He said, nothing's going to fall over. Nothing's going to fall over. They had to write a few little programs for little things that somebody else had created in the background, which is always what the problem is with Telstra. They get techs who write their own code and insert it into the Telstra code, or it used to be the case. I don't know if that still happens, but it used to screw everybody over. But I don't know. No big Y2K bug. Did we have that moment? Well, I don't know. Certainly smells a bit like it with the 3G network. Apparently, though, a lot of security systems don't work on the 3G, well, only work on the 3G network, don't work on the 4 or 5G. That's highly possible, I suppose, older systems. We'll just see what plays out, I guess, over the next little while. Wasn't a scam, Y2K. It was real, but underreported. Well, I never heard anybody, not one radio station that I worked in or had anything to do with, and I had a lot to do with just about all of them at that time. None of them had any problems whatsoever. And we were using cutting edge computer technology at the time, I guess. These days you have something better on your iPhone, but back in the day. Jacqueline, well done. Purchased some more silver from Ainsley last week. Great company to deal with. Yep, they are fabulous folks. In fact, Michael and the team sent me a get well SMS the other day when they found out what had happened with my wrist. So I really appreciate them for that. And to Kat and the team in Melbourne too, thank you very much. There's been a lot of people popping into the Melbourne office in the last few days, picking up their orders, and I commend Ainsley, Melbourne, or Brisbane offices to you. I keep saying they're both putting in Voice of Freedom wings. They're making extensions, but I like to call it the Voice of Freedom wing. So if you're going into either one, just let them know that we can arrange a nameplate at some stage if that's what they'd like. It's not quite that bad, but yeah, a bit of fun. Just having a bit of a scan down. Your questions or your things. There's a lot of great people in the family chat tonight. Lovely to have you in, Sandy. Trust you guys are going all well. You buy bulk fuel. Your last diesel load was $1.61. Oh, okay, well, that's pretty good. I think diesel where I am at the moment is about $1.73. In South Australia, I think it's up to about $1.95. I was talking to somebody there today. So it does look like it might be climbing slowly, but yeah, with a little bit of luck. Oh, look, speaking of diesel and saving fuel money, I was speaking with Tim Dwyer today. I was ruminating about just how wonderful the X39 patches are. And he let me know that there was somebody amongst the family here who had decided they wanted to buy 4 units, 4 of his H2 units to put on their equipment. And for whatever reason, this deal has fallen through. So he's rung and said to me, oh, look, if you want to do a special, then he's prepared to do a very special on his hydrogen units, and you can have one tomorrow. He has 4 of them all set, ready to go, and he's obviously paid for them already. Whoever was buying them ran into whatever problems, and that happens. I understand, and so does he. But he's now going to make them available to Voice of Freedom followers at a discounted rate to his discounted rate. I think his normal discounted rate for us is about $3,500 to get the unit fitted. You'll make that money back if you do a lot of Ks in a year. You'll save that easily in your fuel bills. He's going to do it for $3,300, I think. That's what he said. So 3,300. If he hasn't said that, then I'm probably in the shit, but that'll be what it is, $3,300. So if you are interested, it's cheaper than the cheap deal you would normally get. And if you are interested, you can just email Tim directly at h2@vofhq.com. h2@vofhq.com. And he will look after you in no short order. Wonderful man. And has a lovely wife too, the lovely Corinne, who help you out. So what's going on in America? Well, Donald Trump held his big rally at Madison Square Garden. Of course, Democrats, I forget which one, it might have been CNN, it could have been somebody else, came out and accused him of holding Nazi since the Nazi rally in New York City in about 1939, where a small group, by comparison, of people got into Madison Square Garden and started to applaud the things that Hitler was standing for in the Second World War. They didn't bother mentioning that outside of Madison Square Garden that day, there were 100,000 people protesting against the Nazis inside. But instead, they decided to draw that Nazi analogy to anybody who went to that rally at Madison Square Garden. Think back to 2016. I lost some good friends who live in New York in 2016. They came from the Gold Coast, or they came from country Victoria, actually, and moved up here, lived up here, came into a little bit of money through an inheritance and decided to go and move to New York and, become New Yorkers, which is great. God love them. They bought themselves a beautiful place in Harlem, from memory, and made their life there. Absolutely wonderful. But when Trump was running for the presidency in 2015-16, he obviously upset a lot of New Yorkers. And I was a bit surprised that my Australian friends were so dead set against him. And then, of course, like all good leftards, they attacked me for supporting Trump. They attacked me because I didn't know New Yorkers and I didn't know anything about New York. And he's quite right. The last time I was in New York, I was 10 years old. So, lay down misère, I know nothing about New York. However, I do know a bit about people. All right? And I know a bit about how people think. I know about how they react. I know a bit how they move. Their thought patterns, what will motivate somebody to react to something. It's what you do in radio and TV. You learn how to motivate people, in theory. So Trump was very, very good at motivating people. And unfortunately, for the left, loud left of New York at the time, they shouted down everybody else. And in fact, would have locked them up, would have shot them on the streets if, a Trump supporter had have made themselves plainly obvious and one of these morons had had a gun, they would have shot him. Now it's changed quite dramatically. I can't say that New York is for Trump again, because there's still morons like that Robert De Niro character who is standing up on any street corner and, calling anybody who wants to support Trump all sorts of things. These are like spoiled children throwing a tantrum. And this is what concerns me. Martial law, we've been told to expect. But the question I have is, who will instigate that martial law? Should we get to the election? Should Donald Trump win it in